Welcome to TMZ Live. Charles here.
And Babcock here.
We begin with the death of an absolute legend in Hollywood, Gene Hackman, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, found dead in their home in New Mexico late on Wednesday. Or actually, it was Wednesday afternoon. Police did not come out with this until late Wednesday night. And what is obvious to us now is that part of that delay in getting this information out from the police was that it is an absolute mystery. In fact, the way they describe it in documents they filed, they said it was suspicious. They had to get a search warrant to go in the house, and what they found inside, we're going to get into all the details in just a moment, because it does lay out exactly what they saw and leads you to believe a couple of things that might have been behind their deaths, but it is not clear at this point. So let's start with the call from a 911 operator, call to a 911 operator. This made by a maintenance worker who had come by the house on Wednesday and said that he saw one of them saw their bodies on the ground, and made this call.
I think we just found one deceased person inside the house. What's the address here? There's no address. There's no address. I'm going to wait for you at the gate.
1 second.
Damn.
Are they breathing?
I have no idea. I'm not inside the house. It's closed. It's locked. I can't go in. But I see them. She's laying down on a floor from the window.
Do they appear to be awake or alert?
No. It's not.
Okay. Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody up here really quick.
Right, so It appears that he could only see Betsy.
Right.
And we now know from the police documents that Betsy was found near the bathroom.
Right.
They didn't say which bedroom it was off of. We assume it was the master.
Yeah.
But she was found laying there, and their dog, one of their dogs, they had 3 dogs, one of their dogs was about 10 to 15 feet away.
Yep. German Shepherd.
Right, in a closet, was also had also died. Gene was found, once police went in, they said that they found Gene Hackman's body off the kitchen. And it's really interesting what they say about how they describe the condition they found Gene in, because it starts to point to the fact that this was something, seems like it was something sudden, is the way the police describe it.
Yeah, so he was found, Gene was, near a door to the house. He had sunglasses that were lying next to him, suggesting that he would either been wearing them or had them in his hand. And it obviously wasn't, something that he anticipated happening. Given that the 2 bodies were in different places of the house, the dog was the deceased dog was somewhat close to Betsy. The thought is that all 3 of them were going about their usual routines in their day, and something catastrophic occurred rather suddenly.
And the other thing was that near Betsy's body, they found a space heater.
Yes.
And that immediately leads you to believe, all right, maybe this is carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right. Because, they said this, the authorities did, Charles, there was no outward signs that there was foul play. There was no blunt force trauma that was visible. And then you say, okay, if this took the dog's life and Gene and Betsy's, what could have happened? And you obviously think, would it be carbon monoxide?
So just to hit on this point, so the gas company came out and they said there was no evidence that there was any carbon monoxide leak from the pipes in the house. Some attention is obviously being paid to this space heater. It's a really large house. It's a sprawling, looks to be 2-story, sprawling house in Santa Fe. And I don't know enough to say this for certain, but it would seem odd to me that a simple space heater could give off the kind of carbon monoxide that would kill 2 people
in different rooms,
areas of such a large house.
Right.
You know what? It's also interesting is that we said, Charles, they had 3 dogs, and 2 of the dogs survived. One of the dogs was actually
found outside.
Right, outside, but one of the dogs was still inside the house near Betsy.
So all of these things that you think are leading you down a path, and it just doesn't add up. And it is an absolute mystery what happened at this point.
One other thing to point out, Charles, the door of the house was found by the maintenance workers to be slightly open. So we don't know if Gene Hackman opened it before he passed out or fell down. but it explains why one of the dogs was outside, another dog was alive but inside. So it's possible if we come to believe the carbon monoxide theory, it's possible that the dog who survived but was inside had been outside and was able to live that way.
You know what? Also, I think this is important that the police noted that it appeared that they had been dead for some time, right? At least a day. Could have certainly been more signs of, how that goes, decomposition and whatnot. But I think, Charles, if just because they tested and there was no carbon monoxide, there was no other gas
present at the time that they went in,
doesn't necessarily mean a day, 2, 3 days ago there was.
Right, and in fact, we spoke to family members, Gene Hackman, and at this point, their best theory is that this was carbon monoxide poisoning. That's not based on anything they in particular know about the house. I think they are looking at the facts as we have them, and that's their best guess. But the police still trying to get answers here, and I think a lot of this will come from toxicology. You're gonna, I would imagine, when they perform autopsies, they'll get toxicology, and then we'll get some specific answers. But when you just look at the scene, it's not clear.
Paula Lagapa here from Salinas, California. So yeah, first things first, I mean, Gene Hackman was a phenomenal actor during like what some would say the golden era of cinema itself. So when I hear about the passing of not only him, but his dog and even his wife, I'm not only saddened by it, but I mean, naturally just a little bit suspicious. I mean, why were there 2 other dogs there at the scene, alive and healthy, not to mention the door being ajar by the time that the wellness check was done? I mean, naturally, yeah, I personally would say that this all seems just a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, that is the word that the police are using at this point, and hopefully get answers. And you're right about Gene Hackman's career. We are going to talk a little bit more about that later. God, you run through, French Connection,
right? Superman,
Unforgiven, the Superman movies, Hoosiers. Just an incredible, and The Birdcage.
Yes.
He's brilliant in The
Fantastic.
Birdcage. We're going to talk more about his career a little bit later. All right, moving on now to space, where Gayle King is going to be going up into orbit briefly, but she's going, and she's a little nervous about it. She's going to be aboard the next Blue Origin mission, that is Jeff Bezos' company, and it is an all-female crew that is going up.
Cool.
Katy Perry also going, Lauren Sanchez. They are the famous people who are going there.
Right.
There are 2 other people who are women who are going, not famous, but very accomplished in their field. So this is quite an opportunity for Gayle, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome.
But it was very clear that she's kind of nervous about making this decision.
Are you really going to space?
I'm really going.
No way.
I am surprising. Tell Harvey I'm surprising my damn self.
Okay, so what's the preparation like?
I'm a very nervous flyer. I'm waiting to get all my instructions, but I'm scared, but I'm also really very excited about it. I checked with my kitchen cabinet, favorite daughter Kirby, favorite son Will, and Oprah.
Get out of here. So I have a question. How healthy do you have to be? What's the process like? What's the prep like?
Well, look at me.
So you look fantastic. You look fantastic.
Pray for me. Cheer me on, because I'm very scared, but very excited.
So this is all going down in spring, so it's right around the corner. And she was also on CBS Mornings, where she talked about Oprah, her bestie, being the one that really encouraged her to face her fears and be a part of the whole adventure.
Yeah, I love that. Oprah's like, yeah, go up to space. And I'm not going to go.
I mean, listen, I get Oprah's point. What she said to Gayle is that if you don't go when the rest of the crew comes back, you are going to be regretting it deeply. And that's true. So, but it's also easier to be the one telling someone to go. I get why. Honestly, on CBS this morning, I thought Gayle was near tears. She was so afraid.
Well, imagine being scared, Charles, to go in an airplane, and then you're going to go to space.
And now you're going to sit on top of a rocket.
Yeah.
And it goes into orbit.
I don't know.
But what an experience it's going to be.
Awesome.
All with Katy Perry singing.
I'm Natalie in Scottsdale. This Blue Origin crew are my Avengers assembling. Charles, I won't be surprised if Katy performs extraterrestrial in space, and she's the first artist to do so. But aerospace is a very male-dominated world. This is just going to inspire young girls like my little sister that wants to be an aerospace engineer, that this is possible. Shoot for the stars. And if Katy Perry, Black Ops creator, filmmaker, and journalist can do it, so can you.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said is actually Lauren Sanchez said that for her it was an amazing thing to, one, she's become a pilot, and now to be actually going to space. She is thrilled.
This is
and
such
by the
a
way,
rare opportunity.
you want to go when Jeff Bezos' fiance is
right. You got precious cargo on board, right?
Exactly. So. There's nothing. Exactly. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, a new lawsuit filed against Diddy, but this one has a twist. In addition to a sexual assault that is alleged, the alleged victim is saying that Diddy made a reference to taking out Tupac during their encounter in New York City. There is a male sex worker who is saying that he is a prime example of what the federal prosecutors have been saying about Diddy, because he describes an encounter with Diddy in New York City that is textbook from what is in the indictment against Diddy. Now, this person has filed a lawsuit against Diddy as a John Doe, but when you hear the details, it does sound exactly like the stuff that prosecutors are alleging in this indictment. The sex worker says that he was contacted by Diddy, said that they were going to meet at a hotel in New York City, and he showed up there, and Diddy was there with a girlfriend. Doesn't name the girlfriend, but says that that immediately they, got naked. And that Diddy forced the sex worker perform a sex act on his girlfriend for several hours. And then he brings up something we've heard in other lawsuits, that is baby oil, feeling like you were drugged.
Right.
And then he alleges that that Diddy then sodomized him.
Right.
Some of that stuff we've heard in other lawsuits. The twist here is something that he said occurred during the sexual assault, something that Diddy said to him that references another really notorious thing that Diddy, his name is attached to, but he has never been accused of this. But in this lawsuit, the male sex worker says that Diddy said to him, if I can get Pac, as in Tupac, hit, what the blank do you think can happen to you?
Like, don't say anything.
Right. It was a threat of
your mouth shut.
Keep your mouth shut about this, otherwise I'm going to do to you what I did to Tupac.
Well, guys, needless to say, Diddy's team is absolutely denying this. They're saying that no matter how many lawsuits are filed against Diddy, they're still maintaining their innocence, saying that he did not sexually assault anyone. I mean, it just feels somewhat, with the exception of the Tupac bit here, it feels like deja vu all over again. Since he was indicted, I mean, it just feels like every week we see some type of lawsuit from a Jane Doe or a John Doe alleging, sexual assault, among other things. And I'm just curious when it's finally going to come to an end, if it even does.
If it does, exactly. Because remember, all of these lawsuits, Diddy and his team, they're not going to deal with any of this until after they're done dealing with the federal
lawsuits,
case.
money. Diddy's life his freedom is on the line right now, right?
But what they could come together here, because what we've learned is that the individual who's filed this lawsuit is willing, if the feds want to sit down with him, is willing to testify. He actually wants to talk to prosecutors because they feel that they are a prime example of what the feds have alleged, and so therefore...
And I'm sure the feds will take them up on that, Charles. I mean, this is alleged to have happened around 2012 time. I would think that the feds would absolutely want to sit down with this John Doe.
Yeah, at the very least, to have the conversation, get the information, whether or not they actually becoming a testifying, witness.
Right.
Who knows? But
building a case is obviously more complicated, but they'd love to hear him out.
Hey, my name is Nikki. I am from Chicago, and this is one of those stories that really makes you wonder if we're living in some twisted movie script. Accusations like these are obviously horrific, but bringing someone up like you're channeling Tupac is just on another level. I mean, who even thinks that's a good idea? Nothing surprises me anymore, but that is just absolutely wild.
Yeah. Again, the allegations are always wild here, and we always have to stress that these are allegations being made by an individual. Diddy has denied it.
Yep.
And we will eventually, months down the road, see how all these play out. Okay, moving on now to yesterday's really shocking death, but a new development in the investigation into Michelle Trachtenberg's death. Told you that the 39-year-old actress was found deceased in her apartment in New York City yesterday morning. And again, at just 39, it made everyone stop and wonder what is happening here. What we do know is that she had had a liver transplant recently. And so a lot of people immediately thought that maybe this had something to do with that transplant, complications from that. We're not going to know is the new development here, because while yesterday, as we were covering this, we thought, well, there'll be an autopsy and they'll figure it out.
Certainly.
We've now discovered that Michelle's mother has decided she does not want an autopsy conducted. And the body did not go to the medical examiner's office and instead went to a funeral home. You can read that one of two ways, that either she knows
Mom
for
knows
certain what it is, or she just doesn't want whatever it is to come out.
Totally. So essentially it'll just be, but from the medical examiner, it'll be undetermined. So it'll never become public what actually happened to her. So Lana was actually, which is Michelle's mom, was actually the one who found her. So she told police that she saw her the night before at around 10, and then saw her again at 8 a.m. in the morning. And that's when she found her in her bed, deceased.
And she said when she saw her the night before, she was fine, right? That there was no sign of distress?
Right, there was no sign at all. So like you kind of alluded to this, Charles, could be one of two things. Either one, we don't know exactly when this liver transplant happened, but we do know it was somewhat recent, like I think at least within the last couple months. So you could either look at this as like Lana was staying with her at the home and realizes that maybe something happened with this liver transplant, and it's very obvious to them what happened here. Or she knows the laws in New York and realizes that if they do the autopsy, that becomes a public record, and then whatever did happen to her will become a public thing.
I'm just surprised because remember, I mean, a few days before she was out with her friends in Manhattan having a dinner. Mom again says she was seemingly fine the night before, right? Obviously, people had commented, like we said yesterday, Charles, on her appearance, and she responded to those people, said, hey, look, I'm not a kid anymore, so I'm going to look a little different, seemingly indicating everything was fine.
Yeah, and she didn't, in responding to those people, didn't say anything about the liver transplant.
Right.
So you wonder if we just don't know what she was, at this point, don't know what Michelle was feeling in those last days leading up to her death. But Mom seems secure, at least in what knowledge she has of what happened here.
I'm Devin from Kansas City, Kansas, and I would just say that to me, she's like a childhood legend to me because I remember her as Harriet the Spy. And, it's sad overall that her mom found her, but it's also like I think she has a idea of what happened, and that doesn't need to be public. That just needs to stay in the family at that point.
Yeah. It seems like that's the way Mom wants it to play out. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Lil Baby called out by Atlanta police who are investigating a couple of gang shootings down there where 2 people were killed. They're not saying that Lil Baby pulled the trigger, but they are saying that something he did last year set all of this in motion, and now they do think he should be held responsible.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Actually, Pitt got in another accident.
At what point does Angelina go, I'm not going to give you your inheritance this week?
Siobhan, how many accidents have you had?
It's TMZ.
Atlanta police want Lil Baby, and they want him for what they deem his involvement in the shooting deaths of 2 teenagers last summer in Atlanta. Now, they're not saying that he pulled the trigger, and that's what's kind of crazy about what you're about to hear. Yesterday, police held a news conference where they were talking about these shooting deaths. And while they don't say Lil Baby's name here, you're going to hear this is a major in the Atlanta Police Department. He is clearly referring to an incident that happened last year when Lil Baby was filming a music video, and they are pissed, the police are, that he chose the location he did for that shoot.
Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. And cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw homicides and shootings, and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions. And you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
That is really strong. And again, I think there's a reason that they didn't say his name.
Right.
Because this does seem like legally it seems like a stretch. Now, I get that they are upset that Lil Baby shot. By the way, it was last May of 2024 when he was filming this music video. Now, there was an incident that happened on set. I mean, and the police at the time said they believed that this was gang related, but now they're full out saying blaming
and sure,
Lil
does
Baby.
it seem like he was poking and prodding the rival gang a little bit? Yeah, probably.
Look, we're a long way from criminal responsibility. If you're shooting a music video there, you have to have an overt action and you have to have a sort of guilty mind, a mens rea, to accuse someone of a crime like this. That's why you have conspiracy laws and threat laws and things of that nature. But to just shoot a music video and connect him to the subsequent tragedies is a big hill to climb. Now, could he be a witness and may he know some information? Quite possibly. But criminal responsibility for shooting the music video there, it's just lacking.
Especially, Derek, because this was, how many? So 3 months before the 2 teenagers were killed. That was in July. But basically what the police are saying is that all of the gang violence was set off, started with that music video.
Feet. That seems very overzealous.
That's the most ridiculous part. I mean, look at the nexus. I mean, we've got months that passed, and he wants to pin it all on what may have been a foolhardy place to shoot. I mean, I'm not shoot the video. I'm not sort of excusing that behavior, and maybe there's some sort of shaming that can go on. But to build a criminal investigation from a music video shoot and then a tragedy that occurs months later, it's just going to be a hard thing for investigators to get to.
I think that everything we just laid out there is one, why they didn't say his name during the news conference, and why he has not been arrested at this point. As far as we know, there isn't even a warrant for his arrest. Again, his name was mentioned in an arrest warrant for other individuals who are
the people who pulled the trigger
clearly involved.
The people who pulled the trigger are responsible for the murder.
But this is clearly something that we are expecting. Lil Baby has not said anything yet. We are in contact with his attorney, and I would imagine when they're so publicly sort of shaming him, he's going to have something to say about this.
Hi, I'm Imani. I'm from Atlanta. I can understand being upset about this, but I can't justify blaming him for this, especially because the months that pass, you can't really correlate that. I can understand the general upset of being like, why would you come out there in rival gang territory? But I mean, he's just doing his job. It's very sad that teenagers lost their lives, but gang activity was gang activity before he came out there. So that's just my thoughts.
A million things could have happened in between that period, the video shot and the murders.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly say that he sort of inflamed the situation
stoked things a little
by going there. Seems like a stretch to blame him for those the tragic death of those 2 teenagers. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, Snoop is got a new deal. He says he is done with Spotify. We will tell you where he is putting his music, and interestingly, this deal was born out of that inauguration gig that he did, the one that everyone called him out for and said that he was a sellout. Yeah. Well, he got something out of that besides photo ops with Trump. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Snoop took a lot, and still is taking a lot of heat for playing the inauguration, one of the inauguration balls back in January.
Yeah.
So people felt like, you know, they called him a sellout, and why are you doing this with Trump? And Trump's a racist. We've heard all of it for more than a month now.
A lot of criticism.
There was something else that Snoop got out of that weekend. A business deal, apparently, because he made an announcement that he is done with Spotify. Now, Snoop has for a long time, years now, complained about the amount of money that an artist gets when his music is streaming. It's like fractions
less
of a
than
penny,
yeah.
Per stream, and he felt like that was that artists are getting ripped off. He made enough noise about it that someone approached him that weekend and made a deal. And today he announced where he is taking his music now.
Came in the door, I said it before, never with Spotify anymore. I'm only on tune.fm, Big Snoop Dogg. I'm coming to you live and direct, baby. Check me out. I'm gonna drop something right about now.
This is a tune.fm exclusive. Load the spaceship, yep, I'm your pilot. Killers move in silence with violence. Roll with me.
So that's his new song that he dropped, and it is exclusively on Tune FM.
My question was, would his other music be taken off of Spotify? Which it seems like the answer is no, at least right now.
As of right now,
Spotify
it's on
has
Spotify.
the biggest. They have the biggest music audience, so that would be an interesting business decision for him to take his music completely off Spotify. You know, like he'll probably just continue to feed Tune FM with exclusives like this Spaceship Party song that we just heard. But interesting enough, Spotify is firing back. You know, they're telling us that if you get 1 billion streams, you're going to get millions of dollars. So Snoop got paid out, but he just didn't receive the money.
Oh wait, Spotify is making it sound like there's a middleman taking the money?
Exactly. Like he has to audit his team because, you know, if you have 1 billion streams, that still is a lucrative, you know, business deal with the streaming platform. You know, like there is controversy of how much you get paid per song, but 1 billion streams is a lot of money. That's what they're saying.
Although Snoop could just feel like it's not enough money. If you get that many streams, you should make more money.
But the question is, can he get 1 billion streams on Tune FM, which doesn't have the reach, not
way.
at this point,
right.
that Spotify does, but I'm sure at inauguration weekend, he met the CEO of Tune FM. Yeah. I'm sure that was the deal, that what they talked about, saying, no, we don't have the reach that Spotify does yet, but we need an artist like yourself to come on board. We'll pay you more than you'll get with Spotify, and we'll hopefully expand our market. Yeah. We'll see if it works, but Snoop is taking the gamble.
Hey, I'm Malik from Norfolk, Virginia, and I have to say it's about time artists start to get paid what they're worth when it comes to streaming. Snoop being the legend that he is, it's great to see that he's being the front of this initiative. And, you know, Snoop don't play about his money, so, you know, he just got to get it where he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, you need a big artist to take a leap like this. If Spotify can get away with paying literal less than pennies, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I should say it's really more Tune FM that's taking the gamble because they're paying Snoop a lot, probably more than they would any other artist, and we'll see if it expands their market. All right, moving on now to a follow-up on a story we told you about earlier this week that was really stunning. This is the fact that Tyree Smith, a man who was convicted back in, I believe, 2012 in Connecticut of not only murder, but of cannibalism, that he ate a portion of his victim's brain as well as an eyeball, and he is now getting out of prison. That the board there has decided, after speaking with doctors, that Tyree is rehabilitated, that his schizophrenia is in remission, and that as long as he stays on his meds, he will not be a menace to society. Well, that is not exactly how the family members of his victim, Angel Gonzalez, are viewing this. We spoke to Talitha Frazier. She is Angel's sister-in-law, and she said that not only is she terrified, but Angel has kids, has a daughter, and she is terrified, is aware of what's about to happen. This is what Talitha said about her family and Tyree's release.
His doctors are saying that, you know, he's not hearing voices. I don't think the doctor realized he's asking a killer that did something really horrific. Are you hearing voices? My family and I really believe the voices in his head were telling him, tell them you're not hearing us so you can get out early. And I believe he beat the system. I just hope that he doesn't do this again. And if he does it again, the board, the doctors, the hospital, probation, they should all be accounted for. His daughter is literally scared to death right now. His grandchildren are scared to death. You know, she has to go put out a protective order so he doesn't have to come back to Bridgeport.
Angel, of course, was in his mid-40s when he was killed.
Yeah. I understand.
No, I do too. They better get it right, Charles. I mean, we heard and we had, he was a public defender back in the day, and he said, look, he's going to have to get his medication every day. Someone's going to be administering it, so it's not going to be on him to take it. But it's, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you want to believe in the rehabilitation of inmates, but and that is, I believe that is possible. And I don't know Tyree, and I haven't spoken to his doctors.
Right. They've all said he's a pleasant guy to be around lately, but
I fully understand his family being so concerned about this. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, Gene Hackman, remembering the legend's performances here in Hollywood, and one of the early ones that is now a legendary film, Hoosiers. We're going to be joined by the director, David Anspaugh, who was making his feature film debut when he encountered Gene Hackman. We're going to hear all about their time in Indiana making this incredible film. Well, as the investigation continues into Gene Hackman's death, and we told you at the top of the show, police have a lot of questions. They have information they've gathered from Gene and Betsy's home, but none of it yet makes it clear a cause of death. One thing that we don't need any investigation to know is what an incredible talent and legend Gene Hackman was in Hollywood. And, we talked about some of the movies earlier in the show, but the one I think that really, the first one that made him, there's French Connection, but if you're a sports fan, when you really connected with Gene Hackman was Hoosiers, the 1986 film about a basketball team, played coach Normal Dale, and an incredible performance.
Right.
Actually, even if you're not a sports fan, you would enjoy it.
I was going to say, you look at any list of the best sports movies, it's at the top always, but it's great, even if you don't like basketball.
Right.
Fantastic.
And the man who directed it, David Anspaugh, had quite the experience directing with Gene Hackman, and he is joining us right now to talk about that. David Anspaugh, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thanks, Charles.
David, obviously, we wish we were speaking to you under better circumstances, but really would love to hear your experience way back, gosh, a long time ago now, but your experience working with Gene, who at that point had already done French Connection, was an established actor, and I'm wondering what that was like for you making this film with him.
Well, it was difficult because I had never directed a feature film before. We shot it in like 36 days, which is we used over 25,000 extras. There were 15 basketball games. I mean, our first assembly of the movie ran nearly 3 hours with no basketball in it. He said to me and Angelo, the writer, at one point, like, boy, I don't know what it is about this job. He says, I feel like I'm doing an episode of Mayberry. Well, because all of our actors, except for Gene and Dennis Hopper, were either local, dinner theater people or local theater people, or out of Chicago with very limited movie experience. And it was my first feature film. So in all honesty, he probably was thinking for a while, what in the hell am I doing here?
I'm sure being in that environment, a small town like that. For you, was it daunting to, as you said, it's your first feature film, and there you are with Dennis Hopper and Gene Hackman. How was he, I guess, to you saying? Obviously, he was aware that this was your first feature film. Did he help you along the way, or was it more like trial by fire?
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. I learned a lot from him. It wasn't maybe under the most ideal circumstances, but I learned a lot from him. And, the one thing you can say about him is that, and I guess you could say this about damn near everything he's ever filmed, his work was perfect. It was perfection. I mean, there's literally nothing about any scene with that guy that I would have changed. And he's one of the few actors that I worked with that would go through the script and he would take words out. He would say, "No, I don't need dialogue there. I can act that."
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. Usually they want to add stuff.
Could you tell right away, David? Did you know, and obviously he had a bunch of success before, but hey, this guy, he's got it. I mean, he is
like as you're shooting it, did you know you got, as they say, you got gold here?
Right.
No, we didn't realize until we were invited to fill a slot that opened up at Sundance, and Angelo and I attended, and we were so terrified that we were at the bar across the street. We were not in that theater at all. We thought, a bunch of cinephiles, they'll just rip the to shreds, a bunch of Midwestern players running around in black high tops. And it was Robert Duvall's wife who found us in the bar across the street and said, "You guys better come back into the theater. They're hearing and asking for you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the first time we realized we might have something of value there.
That's
wow.
amazing.
That's so
listen,
cool.
David, before we let you go, I just got to ask you, and this might seem like an obvious answer that you're going to give, but maybe not. Your favorite Gene Hackman performance over his storied career?
The one that really sticks with me, there's nothing. I mean, I loved them in Bonnie and Clyde. They're in every film I could pick out scenes, but I Never Sang for My Father really had an impact on me.
Wow. Okay. See, we went to the director and he gave us the
right.
Everyone would expect one of the the big legendary films, and you went a little off.
I did. The guy never had a false moment on screen.
He really did.
And same with his wife Betsy. It's so sad. They were always together, always. They had just started dating when we were doing Hoosiers, actually.
Oh wow! So she was on. Was she on set?
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing a little bit more about who Gene Hackman was on set as he was crafting these amazing films. And thank you for your work, obviously, on Hoosiers and Rudy, as you referenced, two legendary sports films, just legendary films.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
It's Rudy and Hoosiers.
David, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right,
David.
I didn't realize that was his first feature film.
Can you imagine that? These two legends, Dennis Hopper, Gene Hackman.
Nice one right
out. Not too bad.
Nice one right out of the box. All right, when we come back, Travis Kelce gives us the answer everyone's been waiting for. Is it going to be the NFL, Taylor Swift? Which way is he going? You'll find out when we come back. You're lucky. I am not one to gloat. I'm not one to say, I told you so.
You did call this.
But if I were, this would be the moment. Travis Kelce has made it official that Taylor Swift is going to have to wait a little bit longer to have him around at all times.
She's like, yes.
He made the announcement through his buddy, Pat McAfee. This is how Pat broke the news on his show today.
Message was, "My dog!" Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. 3. Source says, "I'm coming back for sure. Gonna try and get to the best shape I've been this offseason and get back to the mountaintop. Got a real bad taste in my mouth with how I played in that last game and how I got the guys ready for battle. I can't go out like that." Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Wow.
That's a lot of exclamation points.
A lot of exclamation points. You almost get the feeling, one, had they won the game, he might have retired. Right. And had they not gotten their butts kicked, He might have retired.
Yeah, I mean, I remember someone, like a really intelligent person, who was saying
Man,
that
we don't have too
everything
many of them here.
no, we don't.
Look.
That's how you're right. Saying that Travis coming out and saying, I didn't get everyone ready.
Yeah.
I did things wrong. I'm upset. Like
You did. You called it yesterday.
Gonna walk away with all those things.
No, he's got pride. There's a reason he's the best.
There you go. So now he says he's going to get in the best shape of his life.
Yeah. Does that mean he was in bad shape last year?
Well, do you remember when was it? When when did we get him out here when he was like working out with Taylor?
Yeah.
They
that
closed
was
down
a while
the
ago.
gym.
Yeah. Yes.
Or
yes.
maybe it was last spring.
Yeah,
or
I
something
think it might have
like
been before the season started.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people said he was looking a little soft last year.
Yeah, got to get some serious workouts.
Hey, my name is Taylor. I am from Philly. I am not shocked Travis is coming back to the league. The Chiefs are a great team. He's a top player. After the Super Bowl performance, I am not mad at him for, wanting to get back on that field and, turn it all around and go back for that Super Bowl again next year. However, as long as he is happy and healthy with it, I am all for this.
I am amazed, Taylor. You got through that whole thing and you didn't say Eagles once.
Go Birds. Go Birds. I was trying to be nice.
All right.
I was trying to be
I
nice.
didn't want you to get in trouble with folks in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they'll get mad at
So
you.
there, you got that in. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Hi, my name is Aaliyah from Pasadena. First, I want to say rest in peace to Gene, Betsy, and their dog. But I would like to hear about the cause of death. I think it's a bit suspicious that they and their dog passed suddenly, and officials have indicated that no foul play was involved, but their front door was ajar. I don't believe that.
There are some questions. We have, since we started the show, found out that police now believe it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks before they get the results of the toxicology, which will, at this point, they believe is what is necessary to find out what happened here. So, okay, one more.
Hi, my name is Kimberly, and I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, although going to space seems very dangerous and scary, I'm excited for Gayle King. I mean, she's going to space with Katy Perry and Sanchez, to name a few. I mean, that sounds like an exciting trip to me. And I'm assuming there's no heights issue there either.
Fear of heights?
Although Gayle said she's scared of flying in an airplane.
This is the ultimate fear of flying. I don't, and yet Oprah's like, go on, don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Face your fear.
I'll be down here waving.
When you get back.
All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, if you are a Sarah Jessica Parker fan or a Sex and the City fan, there is an incredible treasure. It's almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
But we will show you a piece of Sex and the City history that is now for sale on the internet, and you may be able to get it dirt cheap. If you're a Sex and the City fan, you know in the first movie, when Carrie gets married, there's a beautiful Vera Wang gown she is wearing. Imagine walking into a thrift store and seeing that gown. That's what someone is claiming happened.
That exact gown?
That exact gown. Check this out.
Vera freaking Wang. I cannot believe that I found this dress at Goodwill for $18.99. It is Vera Wang. It is the Carrie Bradshaw dress. I'm shook. I have never sold a wedding dress, so if anyone has any suggestions, I would appreciate them in the comments.
So $19.
No.
You got a Vera Wang dress, regardless of Sarah Jessica Parker.
Forget Sarah Jessica Parker.
But the woman who got it says she's now going to sell it, resell it. So, well, she'll get like $4,000 for it now. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.